It was brutal, mate. Just like this big, massive light beam coming off my forehead. So I had to swap round. So apologies for the delay. That's what I was doing then.
It looked like a David Lynch thing. I didn't see you, then just in his ominous one finger come through and was expecting a dwarf.
Be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was all set up to go. I had the bookshelf behind me because I'm downstairs. It was all good. And then I looked and I thought, hang on a minute. I just look like I'm on fire. What's going on here? Look like got a laser beam coming off the top of my head because I was directly below the light. So I've swapped around. And we're recording, obviously. So
yeah. Well, it's a good way to start, you know.
We need a bit of Jesus. Yeah. We need a bit of levity. Fucking hell. It's time.
I'm telling you, mate.
First of all, I know you're not here for this, but bravo, mate. That the poem that you read. What event was it, mate? Remind me.
It was for United We Stream yesterday in for Manchester to raise money. I don't really want to talk about much about it, to be honest. Just
fair enough, mate. I just wanted to say,
not really for me to thank you. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to say it moved me, and you know, it was you put into words what I was thinking better than I could have. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you very much.
Which, you know, very emotional. Talking of which, first of all, let's do an intro. There's an idea.
Yeah.
This is what podcast is this, mate? We're having a shocker here. What podcast are we on now?
I think this is number 3 for the podcast, isn't it? And we've had 2 top 5.
Yeah, we sort of do them separate, don't we? We do the top 10 and we do the podcast, and then we do the shed. But yeah, this is, I think, episode 3 of the podcast. Or if you want to count the others, you call it episode 6, but it doesn't really matter. I'm Jay. That's Scotty, together with Motty and Scotty, or Scotty and Motty. Sorry, yeah. Because
look at your three episodes in, and you're already putting.
Someone else chose the name of it. Do you know what I mean? Got a Keenan over it. I'll make a sign. Next thing you know, I've got second billing. Right, fair enough. You know, I made a great design. Oh yeah, look, your name's first. All right, fair enough. We can't change it now. I've already printed them off.
I was looking at different logos, and then I thought, because I put Scotty and Motty, if you just put the first initials, it's S&M, and I think that's going to be the whole different audience.
I like what you did there. We'll start using that as a tag. Get some more views. They'll be very disappointed though when they clock on and see 2 Mancs arguing about films.
I don't know. You don't like you're in some S&M shed there anyway.
I know. This is it. This isn't it, mate. Send help.
Yeah.
I could have been kidnapped. I need a sign. No, I'm downstairs because we're filming this late. The kids are upstairs. They're meant to be in bed, but I can hear them banging about. And Mrs. has just gone about. What we're going to talk about, Aki?
I think there's only probably one thing that we can touch on. That's probably going to be the majority of the show, and that's the shit that's happening in America. I know we briefly touched on George Floyd, I think on episode 2, but we didn't give it as much attention as it needs, and it needs as much attention as the world can give it at the moment. And it's been great to see across the world, everybody's been protesting and marching and stuff, but it's just a tragedy. You've got to look at how the president's been dealing with the situation like a toddler from his fucking bunker, putting random text in capital letters, law and order. It's like, he's just mental.
I thought that was just what he was watching on Netflix in his bunker. I thought next it was going to be like, you know, fucking, I don't know, ESPN or something, or do you know what I mean? Fucking the Discovery Channel.
I would have put that past that. You know, you're probably more on track than him talking about any political agenda. But it's just. I've only seen the video once, and I've been talking to my missus, and she's once I explained the situation of what's actually happened. She's during the coronavirus, she's tried to stay as far away from the news as possible, and then when she's seen the poem that I did last night, I couldn't understand why I got so worked up, and I was trying to explain to everything, and her nose had just been on the phone all day, and she said, "Have you seen the video?" And I said, "I've only seen it once, and it's just harrowing." You know what I mean? But everybody should see that. Everybody should see that video. But this isn't a new thing that's happening, is it? Do you know what I mean? But it just happens time and time again. And I think maybe because of the situation with the coronavirus, and people have got a little bit more time on their hands, that it might be getting a bit more focus than it has. But we shouldn't be having these conversations in 2020. We shouldn't be talking about a fucking police officer putting a knee on a man's neck for 9 minutes. That should not even be a conversation that we should be entering in at all.
No, you're right. At the time of recording, I just saw an update that whoever it is, the Minneapolis police did their autopsy on George Floyd and found that he didn't die of asphyxiation. And now a private one has been done by the family, I think, who's found, and they found that he did die of asphyxiation. Now, you know, I'm no doctor. I don't need an autopsy to tell me if you lean on someone's neck for 9 minutes, they say they can't breathe, they're unconscious for 2 minutes, and you carry on kneeling on the neck, and then they die. Those two fucking things are related. In fact, they're more than related. One has caused the other. So it just adds to it all. It just adds to the anger. It adds to the sense of, division and everything. That there's more sort of twist to it.
Yeah.
And now it'll be interesting to see. Like you say, Trump. I was watching a thing earlier on the telly called the 60s. Like, you know me, I'm into American history, and it was about the 60s in America. Talk about Cuban Missile Crisis and Kennedy addressing the nation, putting everyone trying to put everyone's mind at ease with this. The Russians had missiles in Cuba, and he caused this blockade, and he addressed the nation. You've seen Carter address the nation when they had the energy crisis. You've seen Reagan for, I think it was Iran-Contra and other. Presidents address the nation when there's a crisis. That's the point I'm getting at. And what they try and do is bring the nation together, quell people's fears, offer some hope, offer a solution, offer a little bit of an answer, and say, we're Americans together. Let's get through this together. And as you've said, Trump, not only has he not addressed the nation, he's addressed the world via Twitter with just more idiotic, moronic, incendiary comments and posts and tweets. And it's like, it's completely counterproductive. I don't even want to say it's meaningless like most of it, because it has a lot of meaning, and he's trying to sort of fan the flames at a time when, for once in his life, he needs to try and just say something that's slightly, just, I know you're not, but try and pretend to be a statesman for fucking 7 seconds and not a dickhead, and just maybe put out a message of, I understand the anger, or I can see why people are rising up, but now is the time for America to come together. Whatever, just pretend to be presidential for a bit. Give it a go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're 3.5 years in a job. Why not for just for a day or for a bit? Pretend what it'd be like to be the actual president instead of someone fucking filling that office who doesn't seem fit for it in any way. And and it's just, he's going after the Democratic governors. He's threatening people. He's retweeting certain videos and certain pictures. He's retweeted something of two black students who commit, who've been. He says, I'm not going to be this is what he says, but I don't trust anything he says. He's thrown a Molotov cocktail, whatever. So you can see the narrative he's already pushing. He's treated Antifa as well, anti-fascists. He said Antifa, the anti-fascist group, are going to be terrorists. That was one of his tweets, wasn't it? That they're going to be classed as terrorists, which I'm actually gutted about, because my granddad, he went over to Germany in the 40s and killed a load of fascists and fought against the fascists. And I'm gutted to find out he's a terrorist. Yeah. All the time I thought he was, a hero, and it actually turns out in all this time fighting these Nazis, he was actually a terrorist. So that's a bit gutting for the family name. But yeah, it's just been typical Trump at a time when we need him to be anything but. And it's really worrying. And I don't expect him to do anything but revert to type and carry on doing what he's doing, which is just closing more shit.
Yeah. I don't know whether he's playing the game here, because I think he knows that he's onto a hiding when it comes to the election, if that happens in November, isn't it? Because I've noticed a lot of his tweets, especially today, he's been calling out, is it Joe Biden?
Sleepy Joe, he calls him, yeah.
Sleepy Joe. I'm like, but this isn't, I mean, I've got the same sort of beef with what's going on in the UK regarding how they're dealing with the coronavirus, and we'll talk about that later on, but it isn't the time for political point scoring. This isn't, you don't be pointing at your competitors and saying like that, but they're not doing something right. You're in the position to prove that you deserve to be in that role. And it's right. It's a good point when you were talking about the likes of Reagan and Carter making statements and addressing the nation. When Obama was president, I think it was 2014, and it was the Ferguson riots, and obviously pretty similar situation as to what's going on now. Obama addressed it with decorum. Do you know what I mean? And he tried to toe the line as far as he could, but you could sort of see he was rightly incensed, and obviously he could see the injustice that was happening. For me, Trump is as much to blame for this as the cop, because I believe, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is that if you're the leader, then you lead by example. In 2019, last year in July, President Trump said to 3 black US-born congresswomen to go back to their own country. What fucking message is that sending to the police force that is below you? Do you know what I mean? I'm not having it that it didn't seep into subconscious of your coppers and stuff, that when they're going out and having that thing where black people are second citizens. It's exactly the same as it is in this country when you have Boris Johnson referring to people with hijabs as post boxes, and then that gives people the entitlement to look at people of a different color as second-class citizens. Now, for me, I firmly believe that Trump has got a part to play, or has played a part in where we're at now. And I think he knows that he might be onto a hiding, and I don't think he gives a shit, to be honest. He'll hide in his bunker and just play fucking, watch Law and Order or whatever, and just let the fucking country burn. Because what happens now, ultimately, in a riot, there are no winners in riots. But there are lots of losers. Do you know what I mean? And what will happen? There'll be a lot of innocent people that'll be arrested because they are worked up. And a riot is like it's a tameless beast, and you just need to let it run its course and stuff. And there's no outcome, I don't think, where anyone's the winner in this at all. I think I seen George Floyd's brother was saying, "Please don't burn down your own town." But it's inferno across the states. I mean, it's kicking off in cities across the world. But I 100% think Trump has a massive thing in stoking the flames of racism in the States. You've got Mexicans when he was banning Muslims from flying into the United States as well. And then obviously the comments that are happening now.
No, I mean, I completely agree. We were talking about Trump the other day, and I said, he's a symptom, not just the cause of racism. But he has his part to play, and he has emboldened a lot of racists. You see it going on all the time. They feel a bit empowered. They feel like they can get away with murder, literally. And his rhetoric sort of leads to a lot of that. He's always coming out with stupid statements, like you say. He's got a history of this throughout his life. He was done when he owned property for racial profiling residents. He was told he couldn't do that. The Central Park, was it Central Park 5 or 6? Sorry, forgive me. I think it's Central Park 5, who were proven innocent, and he still goes on like the guilty. And he tries to offered a reward for any evidence. He called for the death penalty even after it was proved they were innocent. He still wanted him executed. David Duke, I think the leader of the KKK, said that he's a big Trump supporter. We finally got one of our own in the White House. He refused to denounce Duke as well when he was interviewed about him. I think he did it much later, when people had a word with him. But at the time when it was put to him in an interview, he wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't. He refused to say, I don't want anything to do with the Ku Klux Klan. Which also, let's not forget, the Ku Klux Klan isn't a terrorist organization, but you want to make the anti-fascist one a terrorist organization, which it speaks volumes in itself. And it enrages me in some ways, because you go back to Obama. When Trayvon Martin was shot, Obama simply said, I feel for his family. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon, because Trayvon was, he was black. He looks a little. He would have passed for Obama's son. He could have. Didn't look that far different from him. And the right-wing media was in outrage. Why is he saying that? Why is he politicizing it? It was an honest statement that made the country realize, we've got a leader who gets it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the Sandy Hook shootings, Obama went down there, was in tears. He literally went down to Sandy Hook, saw those funerals, saw those people that the families are going through, and was in tears, and was crying, and tried to bring in a pretty lightweight gun law that if you are mentally ill, you cannot have a gun. And it was defeated in Congress. After a load of school kids have been shot to death, Congress and the Republican Congress people mainly were like, nah, we're not into that. Anyone can have a gun. Second Amendment, all that fucking shit.
Yeah.
So, you talk about, don't get me wrong, Obama wasn't perfect. I'm not saying he was, but you go from that to this, and it's night and day. Yeah. Yep. I don't mean to make light of it, but it is like Fergie to David Moyes. It's just fucking one extreme to the other. And it's ridiculous. And you're hoping against hope that I was doing at the beginning of this vid that Trump's going to somehow fucking pretend to be a president or do something differently. And he isn't. And what the interesting thing now is Trump's always appealed to his base. He's always appealed to his core, make America great again, right-wing, conservative Republican types. And to hell with the rest, almost attitude. If I keep them on board, I'll be all right. Now, in the election, he crossed over a little bit with some of the sort of middle centrists, more the blue collar workers in the places like Wisconsin and Michigan, where they thought he wouldn't win because he appealed to their sort of fear over jobs and said, I'll put these tariffs in and secure your jobs. And it works for a lot of them. It works in a lot of ways. But since then, he's just got more and more to the right. It's like he don't care. He's just like, as long as I keep the Republican base happy, I'm okay. But what you've seen is, a lot of moderates and independents who who in the past might have voted for Trump or have bought into what he was doing, they're beginning to see what this is. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I think we've seen, we've seen a lot of anger, and we've seen a lot of division, but we've seen a lot of great examples of humanity. I've seen a video of a white student standing in front of a black kid when he was getting harassed by police, like a human shield. Now that's saddening in the way that we have to see that, but fair play to her. Do you know what I mean? We've seen police officers who've said, you know what, I get where you're coming from. I'm with you. It was the sheriff thinking, I forget where it was. There was a sheriff who put down his baton and his hat and said, let's turn this protest into a parade. Let's march together. Now there has been lots and lots of cases of police brutality, so I'm not saying it's all fucking sunshine and rainbows. It isn't. My point is, there has been great examples of people, not just black people, but white people as well, who were saying, you know what, we're not fucking having this. This isn't right. And I think this is what you need in times like this. It's not just no good if just only black people speak up and only black people aren't having it. That won't get us anywhere. You need white people who realize what is going on, say this isn't on, this isn't right. I know this sounds a bit daft, but when I grew up in Partington, I grew up in a white council estate. It was quite a deprived area, a lot of unemployment, a lot of crime. I was one of the few black faces in the entire estate. I moved there, I was new in the area. And I think my second day in my house, I ended up having a fight with someone from around the corner. And it was like, there was a lot of racism as well there, there was. And I had a group of friends, white friends. Funny enough, one of the guys I had a fight with became friends. There was like 4 or 5 of us who hung together. You know what it's like, Scott. You the same. Yeah. Really tight knit. I mean, like family, like brothers. Saw each other every day. We'd do anything for each other. And people in that estate knew me, knew who I hung around with, and the racism just stopped, man. It did. And I got to the point where I never got any shit. And it wasn't a case of people were scared of me. It was because you fucking started with me, you started with them. We were all together. Do you know what I mean? And people just thought, you know what, I'm not having that. Like, they weren't having it with me. If anyone gave me shit, they were fighting. They weren't just fighting me, they were fighting them. And we were that close. And it worked. And it was like, and I grew up there. I spent 10 years there. And I can count on one hand the amount of fights I had there. And it's like, that is sort of, what you need. You need people to stand together. And it's like, if I was seeing someone like the victim of homophobic abuse, if that was happening in front of me, then I'd be all over that. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be saying, well, I'm not homosexual, so that doesn't bother me. Of course you wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. And I think that we've seen that. We've seen that silence is compliance, and I think it is. And I think everyone has a duty to stand up and say, we're not fucking having. I don't mean you have a duty to go out and riot and stuff like that, but at least show your support for George Floyd, and not just for George Floyd, but for what everyone's going through. Show your anger on you're not having this and it's not acceptable. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you go to the football. There was a time in the 80s and 70s where you could be racist on the terraces and get away with it. Yeah? And that stopped. It stops for a multitude of reasons we don't need to go into. But if someone's racist now, 9 times out of 10, especially at Old Trafford where we go, they'll get pulled up on it, they'll get nicked, or someone will fucking kick off with them. It became unacceptable and people weren't having it anymore. And that's where we need to be in society. It's just like, you know what, we're not having this. And it's not their problem, as you were alluding to. It's all of our problems. Do you know what I mean? My missus is white. Do you think racism is just my problem, not hers? Are you fucking mad? Do you know what I mean? It affects us all. So we all need to stand together with it.
Because we're all humans. And I've just, on the back of the poem that I did yesterday, the number of two things. The number of people that actually emailed me saying how they still face racism today in the UK on a daily basis, whether it's casual racism or stuff, was absolutely harrowing. And I had to go for. I obviously went through them all, and it was fucking loads, Jay. And I'm like, how is this still happening? And then another message was from some predominantly white friends, and they were saying that they want to say something, but they don't know if it's their place to say anything. And I'm like, no, mate, I'm not having that, because you have a voice and you need to be making as much noise as everybody else. Grab a fucking, beat the drum, man. You need to be standing on some sort of soapbox and letting people know about that this isn't on. Because by saying nothing, you are letting people stand alone. And like you said, there's no neutral ground in racism. You either fucking bang against it, or if you're not saying anything, then you are tinkering towards being compliant with it. If you're not racist, you know what I mean? If you're not helping it, what are you? And I found it interesting did you see the Lewis Hamilton thing when he was saying that he asked all the F1 drivers why he's the only person that's been outspoken in F1, and a lot of the drivers came forward afterwards saying very similar things, that they didn't feel comfortable as white people talking on black issues. This isn't a black issue. This is a human issue. The moment you start seeing a person as black, George Floyd to me was just a bloke. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't a black man. He was a black man, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you start seeing issues as black issues, that's the problem. That's when we need to start asking questions. It's a human problem, not black issues, and that's why we need you speaking on stuff. And then you look, and then fucking Don. Do you know who Don Lemon is? Don Lemon's, I think,
he's a presenter on CNN.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's like you. He's heartfelt, and I tell you, Don Lemon, he must be like an executive's nightmare, because he must get his news skirts and just go rip it, throw it in the fucking bin. He does, and he just goes off on one, and you can see he's not reading something. He's going. He'll start and he'll pause and he'll go, "Do you know what? Actually, no, I'm not." And he'll speak from the heart, and you're like, over here we've got Emily Mattis getting fucking censored for saying facts.
Well, that was fucking.
Don't get me started on that, so we'll get to that later. And then you've got Don Lemon, who'll just go, "Do you know what? Actually, I think the president's racist. I'm going to say that."
Yeah. And
it's like, wow. Do you know what? Wow. And you can't argue with the passion and the fact. You can't argue what he says, to be honest, because he's right. But it's like, it's heartfelt, and he articulates it in such a really moving and powerful way as well. And it's like, do you know what I mean? I'm all about that. And that's what you need. You need not just Don Lemon, obviously, but you need others to do that, because...
Well, that's what he was doing. He was calling out celebrities. He was saying, "Where's Diddy? Where's Drake? Where are all these celebrities that are earning loads of money when the people of their same color of skin are actually rioting, are protesting in the streets, and all these people are actually sat at home? Where the fuck are the celebrities that were singing the Imagine video at the beginning of the Rona? Where's that fucking video? Do you know what I mean? As cringeworthy as it is. But you don't see celebrities putting themselves on the line, because it's a PR disaster, because they don't want to lose the security blanket that they have as fame, and they don't want to do it, and it's a fucking atrocious, and they need to be called up on it.
To do, I mean, Madonna's Dancing Sun video was fucking bonkers, but at least she did something. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't see, what was she doing?
You not seen it?
No. I seen Madonna in the Rona, and she was bathing in milk or something, and having a fish supper.
Yeah, it's you know what it's like, Scott. You know when your kid dances, right, and you go, "Oh, that's really good." That when your kid does anything that they put a lot of effort into, and it's like creative, and you're an artist yourself, so you want to encourage artistry in your children. So when they do, and my kids do it, they'll dance or they'll draw a picture. You don't go, "Well, that picture's shit. Go and fucking do a better one," or "That dance is pathetic. You call that dancing? You should be ashamed of yourself." Right? So your kids do a dance, or they do so, and you encourage them, don't you? Say, "Oh, that's fantastic. That, well done. I'm proud of you." And her son's done a dance to Michael Jackson. It's not Heal the World. It was something else. And she's filmed it, obviously, and posted it because she's proud, and she's like, "This is a message for everyone in support of George Floyd." And it's and you can see the difference between Instagram and Twitter straight away, because Instagram's like, "Oh, love this, yeah, I'm with you, lady match, yeah, oh, my queen, all this shit," and Twitter's like, "What the fuck is this? Absolute garbage. This is the worst thing that's happened this week." Do you know what I mean? Absolutely hammering it. It shows the difference. Now, if I'm being brutally honest, it's pretty fucking terrible, but it's something, and it's her way, you know what I mean, of saying something. Yeah. At least she's speaking out, even though it's a bit of a misguided way and it's a bit embarrassing. I get it. Whereas a lot, like you say, have done nothing. They've done tokenism, token tweets, token posts. Like it's almost a copy and paste job. Let's all stand together. Here's a link. Or a graphic or whatever, and just fucking call it out, man. You know what I mean? Like, say it as it is. Say something and just be a bit more personal about it. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to fucking give a speech. You're not Martin Luther King. Just say what you're seeing and why it's wrong and what needs to be done about it. And you're right. And it's like, Taylor Swift, say something, right? She's absolutely rocketed in my estimation over the last year or so. And I'll tell you why, because I've never been a Taylor Swift fan musically. And then I watched the documentary on her. I always felt a little bit sorry for her with the whole Kanye West thing, because she was 17 and came on a stage, and she got the award over Beyonce and all that shit. And I think, really, is this how you're going on? And I saw a documentary on her. I think I Am Taylor Swift or whatever the fuck it was called. And basically, there was that bit, and I felt a bit sorry. But what it did was there was a congresswoman or a senator in Tennessee, where she's from, who was pro-life, which is just another word for anti-abortion. Very right wing, very conservative, and Taylor Swift sort of spoke out against her and supported the Democratic nominee, because she was like, I'm a Christian from Tennessee, and those aren't Christian values, what she's saying. And I was really impressed. She was like, and a team had sat down in this documentary and said, if you do this, you are going to lose sales. The Christian right wing element in this country love you, and you're like their pin-up girl, and a lot of them will turn off if you do this. And she said, I don't give a fuck. This is the right thing to do. I want to be on the right side of history. That is it. And I was like, do you know what? I thought she was a bit of, just like a pop princess who didn't have a lot to say, but she did. And I was well impressed. And it's like, she's been speaking out against it as well. She's been speaking out against Trump. And I think fair play to her, because, that's going to hurt her financially. I know people are going through a lot worse than fucking Taylor Swift losing some records. I'm not saying they're not. But she's taking a stand knowing that, all right, that might cost me a few quid, but I don't care. This is the right thing to do. And more power to her. And, regardless whether you're a Taylor fucking Swift fan or not, she's done a good job of being a human being where others are falling short.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, more people need to be taking similar stands. How much money do you need? How much money do the company need? And talking about that Tim Pot Kanye West, I can't imagine he's out there protesting, is he, with his MAGA hat on? And I seen what the Kim Kardashian put out the other day. I seen you posting on Twitter.
Yeah, I think I said to have a word with your husband. She tweeted some fucking fluffy nonsense. And again,
yeah.
The thing is, right, this point thing with Kanye West, and I don't know, it's a difficult one with him, because I do think he's got mental problems, and I'm not being flippant on that. He doesn't seem well a lot of the time. I don't know. There's certain things he's done which make you question him. But the stuff he has come out with is beyond the pale. Slavery is a choice. He's pro-Trump fucking nonsense. There's just been a few things that have just really made me think this guy is just talking shite. And this was the guy that went on television and said George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah.
When Katrina happened in the middle of a fucking live broadcast, which I was like applauding. I was like, yeah. Well said. And now he's gone completely the other way.
Yep.
To wearing Make America Great Again hats, saying slavery is a choice, which is fucking one of the most idiotic sentences I've ever heard in my life. And then going and hugging Donald Trump like he's his bezzy. Yeah, I'm not into all that. And I think he's got to be better than that. And again, he's if you're not, I know it sounds sort of simplifying it. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, but it's true. These little sayings, silence is compliance. If you're not helping, you're hurting. They're true. They are. Yeah. When you break it down, if you're sitting there and going, I'm not going to get involved in this, what's that fucking mean? I'm not, if your mates, your next door neighbour's getting battered or burgled or your house burnt down, and you say, I'm not going to get involved in that, is that okay? No, it's not.
Exactly. Well, before we move on to something else, there was a Jay-Z quote in 2018 while I was talking about hip-hop people in political sphere, and he said that Donald Trump being elected might actually be a good thing for the world, because what it'll do is it'll unearth the fractures that we actually have in our society that might have been smoothed over, and it might lead to a rise in activism. And it seems pretty prophetic from what he said now, really. I mean, is anybody surprised where we are, where the world is under a Donald Trump presidency? Do you know what I mean? It was never going to go well. No, I mean,
do you know what the trouble is, right? And we have this a lot with right-wing presidents. There's an air of comedy about him. George W. Bush was quite funny at times when he says, seldom has a question been asked, is our children learning? When he said that, I know that man and fish can peacefully coexist. Our enemies never stop trying to find different ways to kill us, and neither do we. Those sorts of things. And you laugh at him, this guy's, it's just like one after the other, wasn't it? Like, remember when he forgot the saying? He said, there's a saying here we have down south in Texas. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. I won't get fooled again. No, George. No, just forget it. Get off the stage. Do you know what I mean? And then sooner or later, when you realise the effects he's having on people's lives, when the Twin Towers are getting fucking crashed into and he's sat there reading My Pet Goat, when he's invading countries that have got nothing to do with September the 11th, when people are literally dying because of decisions he's taking, it stops being funny. It was a similar thing with Reagan. He was quite sort of curmudgeonly, jovial, sort of warm guy who, like, people, he's like, rawhide Reagan, he's all right. Yet he was taking decisions, and the CIA were up to all sorts of fuckeries that were killing people. And it's the same with Trump. There was that little comedy element to him. He's quite funny. He has his rants, and he's always getting involved in silly stuff, but he's dangerous. He's harmful to almost everyone on the planet, and we're seeing that now. Isolationism taken to a new level, cancelling funding to the World Health Organization
in the middle of a pandemic.
That is like just going. That's like flying planes over the Amazon fires, dropping petrol on him. It's just insane. Do you know what I mean? And that's what he's doing. That's what he's done. Everything that's going on with Russia, trying to bring them back into the fold, despite the fact that they've not changed the ways. It's just crazy. And then, like you said earlier at the beginning of this podcast, his rhetoric, his words, do you know what I mean? That do carry meaning. They have weight. Do you know what I mean? And when you're, if you're a policeman in America and you probably not fit for the job anyway, and you think, you know what, if I do shoot this black guy, or if I do this, I'll get away with it anyway. The fucking president's behind me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No one's going to say shit. And it's like, it's scary, man. It's scary. And the one thing that worries me about all this is, you said earlier on about Joe Biden, and I just think there's so many question marks over Joe Biden. Now, starters, I want to get one thing straight. Joe Biden would be a fucking 1,000,000% better than Donald Trump as a president. Right? I'm not saying he wouldn't. My question is, will he get elected? Because he has senior moments, as he says. He's been a senator for so long. There's a few questionable decisions that he's made that people can pick up on him. He's just not, for me, a very, very strong candidate. Do you know what I mean? There's flaws there that the Republicans can exploit. Now, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he wins in November. But I don't know. There's just enough chinks in that armor for even the way it's going that maybe Trump has still got a route to a second term. And I think a big, big part of it will be who Biden chooses his running mates. He's 77, so he might even survive a fucking term.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a good chance. He said he's going to have a woman as a running mate, that who he chooses his running mate could become president. And I think that'll influence a lot of voters, and he's got to choose very carefully. I don't think he's chosen yet. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he has. There's talk of it, maybe Elizabeth Warren or the other woman, I forget her name, Amy Kubler. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because that could tip it one way or the other. But this is my worry, is that we get another 4 years of Trump, because you were saying, Jay-Z said this will instigate things and causes. I don't know if we can survive 8 years of Trump.
Yeah. No, even
the world can do. I don't know if 8 years of Trump, I don't know where we'll be, in 8 years' time, or sorry, in 4.5 years' time.
Isn't that a massive indictment on the American population then, that everything we've spoke about Trump over the last 30 minutes that's happening in the States now, that he can still have a chance, that he can possibly still be president for another 4 years? Isn't that a huge indictment on the American people? Shouldn't they now be looking around at each other and saying, if we are protesting, we need to... It's like, did you see the Killer Mike speech?
Fantastic.
Amazing. But he was saying that this is what we need to do now, is coming together instead of rioting. We need to be coming together at the polling booths and getting him out of power. I don't know how would we survive, because he's already gone fucking raging bull now, hasn't he? 3.5 years into 4. Where do we go from here? Like I said, this is above and beyond any dystopian parody that we could expect from a Donald Trump leadership. 4 more years of that, mate. Where are we? And if you're watching in America, you have the responsibility to do something about this. And if you're a white person in America and you're feeling uncomfortable about speaking out about race issues, don't do that. You need to speak out more now than ever. It's not a race issue, it's a human issue, and make sure you're having your voice heard. And on that note, we're going to bring it a bit closer to home and talk about, you want to bring up the thick of it, didn't you? You've been dipping your toe back into one of England's greatest comedies, political comedy dramas, would you call it?
Do you know what, mate? Right, it's so funny and it's so relevant now. And it was on Netflix, and I've seen the thick of it from start to finish when it first came out. I loved it, and I watched it again. I started watching it again the other night, and my missus was upstairs. She was doing some work, and she was messaging me going, "Nothing can be that funny," because I was just in stitches. I was just laughing my head off, and it is so like, it's almost like exactly what is going on now. You've just got these sort of dithering old men, or upper class guys or whatever, or whoever in charge. You've got all these spin doctors, and you've got the press, and you've got how it all sort of plays out. And it's just you look at the Malcolm Tucker character, everyone compared to Alistair Campbell, but you could swap him for Dominic Cummings. You can swap the ministers for Boris Johnson. It's sort of just the same, and it's like the idiocy often that is sort of behind the people in power and what is going on and how they think and how they work. And it could be a documentary almost. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's putting a spin on things and saying things that don't make any sense. And then, you watch the briefings, they don't make any sense. They had a briefing today where he missed out, was it 450 deaths off the tally or whatever it was? Do you know what I mean? It's double speak. We were talking about last one, in Question Time, where she contradicts herself in one sentence. It's nonsense. And it's just like, you're watching the thick of it. And the only reason that you're able to laugh at it is because it's not real in terms of, this isn't a documentary. It's an actual comedy. Because, when you are watching these real interviews and these real press briefings, it's hard to laugh because it's so fucking tragic.
Yeah.
But yeah, massively back into it. It's Armando Iannucci who's behind it. He's done Veep. He's been in the Alan Partridge, and I think he might have been involved in Brass Eye. I'm not sure on that one, but loads of good stuff.
Yeah.
Satire, just got his finger on the pulse. And if you've not seen the thick of it, or if you haven't watched it for a while, like I didn't, just go and check it out. It'll give you a bit of light relief, because you'll just watch it going, do you know what? That is literally art imitating life. You couldn't. Yeah. It doesn't get any better. And the only sort of thing is, we were talking about this off air the other day. In the first 2 series, I think the lead actor. We had a discussion on our first podcast. Can you separate the sort of the actor or the character from the actor when the actor's been involved in some horrible stuff? Like, can you still watch a Harvey Weinstein film? Can you still watch Bill Cosby stand-up? Can you still watch a Kevin Spacey film or whatever? And the actor Chris Langham, who played I've forgotten his name, Hugh, the minister in the first 2 series, he actually got done for some pretty horrible stuff. Like he was researching a role and he watched child porn or something, which is obviously terrible. I think he went to prison for it. And it's like, can people still stomach watching that, knowing he's in it and what he did in real life? If you can't, fair enough, forget that and watch the second series, where I think Rebecca Font is the main character, and it's brilliant. She's brilliant in it. It's just hilarious. And like I say, it couldn't be more appropriate now, because you're watching it thinking, Jesus Christ, this is like, it's like they just set up cameras in Downing Street and just filming it. It's honestly, it's mental, mate. It's so funny. It really is. It's great. And Peter Capaldi as Malcolm Tucker is one of the best characters ever in television.
Of all time. And we'll talk about one-liners in the top 10 gangster movies, and the one-liners that he's got. You're as useful as a marzipan dildo is one of my favorite ones to call my dad. But I think Armando Iannucci actually said that he couldn't write. This is beyond satire or beyond parody now. What's actually happening I think it was during Brexit, and he goes, I couldn't write this much satire. It's beyond.
This is it. I forgot to say, there's in the second series or the third series, sorry, they show it because obviously Labour was in power at the time, so it was from a Labour government point of view. But they also show the opposition in the second or third series, which is the Tories, and that's really good as well because it's got all like these posh Tories, and you've got like a Dominic Cummings figure who's trying to make him more appealing.
Yeah, it actually looks like Dominic Cummings a little bit.
I almost forgot about him, and he and there's so many one-liners. It's great because like one of the ministers, he has it's his birthday, and he's pictured putting a bottle of champagne in his bin outside his house, and the Dominic Cummings character says, "Drinking champagne in the day? Who do you think you are? Fucking P did it."
I'm gonna watch that again tonight. Absolutely,
honestly, the speech he gives when he gets sacked. I'm sorry, it's a bit of plot spoiler there, but he gets sacked and he gives a speech and he says it's like this: the Tory party. He says reinvigorating this party or restoring this party is like restoring an old house. You know, you can take out a racist minister here or a homophobic beam there, but ultimately it's doomed to failure because it's built on what can only be described as a bed of cunts.
Well delivered, Jay. Well delivered.
Honestly, go check it out, man. We all need a laugh, and that'll give you one.
Yeah. Right, moving on from a bed of cunts to someone who I'd say both of us used to refer to as a cunt. Piers Morgan seems to has he changed his colours or stripes during all this? For the coronavirus, he's been very vocal about how President Trump has been dealing with it, but also how our own government here has been making the worst car crash of the coronavirus across the planet. How are you feeling about Piers Morgan? I actually unblocked him because I got sick of all the Meghan Markle stuff and it was just driving me mad.
Yeah, no, I was seeing Meghan Markle. I thought I think her treatment by the British media has been a fucking disgrace. Don't get me started, and he was one of the main perpetrators of that. So yes, you're right. I was always digging him out about it. But on this, he's been spot on. He's called out the government. He's called out Trump. He wrote several articles about Trump. Trump unfollowed him on Twitter, which, all right, might not sound a lot, but Trump only followed 40 odd people on Twitter, and Piers Morgan was one of them. And he's obviously spat his dummy out with him and unfollowed him. And he's consistently took the government to task on their handling of the coronavirus. When they were putting people on GMB, the government, he rips them apart, and I liked the way he interviewed people, said, he talked over him and that, but he wasn't buying it, he wasn't having it. And now the government have stopped putting ministers up to GMB. He's still calling him out, he's still criticising him, he's still pointing out that the numbers don't add up, the fact that we've got one of the highest death rates in the world, and we had a 2-week head start in a lot of countries as well. Just the bullshit that is going on. He's not been having it. And I think times like this, you need to get past, like, to a certain degree. If you don't agree with someone on everything, on certain issues, on this, if you can agree with him, then fair play. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in carte blanche. For example, what's her name? That fucking Katie Hopkins. I would never sort of retweet her or I've muted her anyway, but I would never say, oh, well, she's right about this. So, do you know what I mean? I can forgive all the racism. Fuck that. But with Morgan, I don't think it's that extreme. And yeah, I agree with a lot of what he said. A lot of people who know me won't like that because they hate him. And I get that. I get some of the stuff he's done in the past has been pretty deplorable. But I think it's certainly in the mainstream media, as someone who's got a show on television, a mainstream show, he's been one of the few who've just absolutely held the government's feet to the fire. And I think if you notice a lot of people who've come out and supporting him, you know, people like Guardian writers and, you know, just left wing and liberals are like Team Piers Morgan, which is bizarre because he's like, they usually hate him. But it's because he don't care. He's not got, like, you know, being censored. He can do what he wants, and he's not having it. Yeah. He's not happy about it. And you know, we mentioned earlier, you look at someone like Emily Maitland, who's one of the best journalists in this country, in my opinion. And she comes out, you know, she does Newsnight, which I don't care. It's called Newsnight. It's not a news show. It's it's not. It's an editorial show. Come on. But when she comes out with something that's critical of Dominic Cummings, and she says, well, he did this, the BBC had to, you know, they censored her and they panicked a little bit. But Morgan doesn't have that problem because ITV just let him crack on with it. And Susanna Reid as well, you know, people think she's just sat there like a nodding dog. She's not. She's the same. Do you know what I mean? And it's good to see even Lorraine Kelly, for fuck's sake. They won't put a minute up for Lorraine Kelly. Do you know what I mean? That's like, I can't. I haven't even got an analogy to that. That is just like.
But that's the sort of Black Mirror we're living in at the moment, isn't it? Where Piers Morgan is a bit of the savior, Lorraine Kelly's a face journalist, and the Guardian's printing for. And I'm agreeing with the Daily Mail headlines on some.
It's bad times, isn't
it? I think it was one day of the week, one day this year. I think I actually looked at the Daily Mail. You know, we get it on Twitter. I don't buy the fucking Daily Mail, and it was calling him up on it was calling Dominic Cummings up. I was like, it's like Black Mirror. That's where we're living.
Can you imagine that? These politicians and the leaders try and convince us that they're strong and British and proud and we can handle anything, and then they can't handle an interview with one of the nicest women on television. It's just like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, if we went to war, we'd be fucked, wouldn't we? Do you know what I mean? If these are the people leading us. Imagine these against, like, you know, a Putin type or a Saddam Hussein type.
Can you imagine if Paxman was still around now? They won't go near Lorraine Kelly. Imagine what Paxman would have done to them. Jesus
if Lorraine
Christ.
Kelly asked me about what my favourite breakfast is, I'm fucked. So
yeah.
She asked me what I've got in my kitchen cupboards, or do you know what I mean? What was the last film I watched? I don't know if I'll be able to handle it.
She was quite scary. Do you remember Bo Selector? Do you remember Lorraine Kelly's character on Don't see me, Grell? Anyone in America, Bo Selector, Lorraine Kelly is hilarious.
What is Bo Selector about, man? Bo Selector was absolutely mental, and it was mental that it even came out. And what was more mental was the fact that the people he was taking the piss out of used to go on it.
But Craig David tried to sue him, didn't he? He said that Craig David said that he wrote that what's his name, Keith Lemon, ruined his career because of all this proper bowl.
Hey,
when we were talking, we were talking about blackface on the last episode, I think.
Yeah.
And I meant to bring this up. How does it work with prosthetics? Because Keith Lemon was a hell of a lot of black people. I mean, and he played a black and white Michael Jackson, I think. I think in one episode. But how does that work? Is that not racist if you're dressing up in prosthetics? Prosthetics?
Again, I mean, is it once removed? Was it Lee Francis playing Keith Lemon playing a cartoon version? Was it so cartoony that when you've got Mel B saying Patsy and he's letting off a right pong, and do you know what I mean? And you've got Craig David, who's from Southampton, who's from Hampshire, but you play him, he's from Yorkshire with a kestrel on his head. Is that not that ridiculous that it's like, this isn't really imitation, is it? That's just, do you know what I mean?
Don't know.
That's like me playing you as a Welsh guy with blonde hair. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. It's a good point. It is, but
it obviously rubbed Craig David up the wrong way.
Because like Mel B was on like his Christmas song, wasn't she? On
yeah, but I mean, you opening up an envelope here. Anyway,
the problem with Craig David is he probably suffered from, like, remember when Dave Chappelle used to get "I'm Rick James, bitch" shouted at him?
Yeah.
He went, and he lost it, didn't he, a couple of times. I think Craig David probably just got, you know, get down, Kez, or whatever, or proper boy, tell me. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, it must have drove me. I mean, I think that's why he moved to America, to be fair. He moved to Miami, didn't he?
And it didn't help his fucking music, I tell you that much.
No,
I used to love Ozzy Osbourne on Bo Selector with the long arms. Oh, sure.
Wait, can I just say one thing though, quickly on Craig David? Yeah. I will give him it. He came to Q103 when I worked there, and he was the nicest guy ever. I missed him, but everyone was going on. He took photos of everyone, and anyone who tweeted him the photo of him or posted it, he commented on Twitter. Like, replied and said, "Oh, it's great to meet you." He was like the nicest guy in the world. So I'll throw that in there. Probably didn't deserve the shit he got.
Yeah, I mean, I did like it from some of his first album. What was it, 7 Days and stuff?
And he's not going to watch this. He just had that album. Like, wasn't that the only one? Then, and like last year, didn't he re-release it or something? The 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I think his first album was Born to Do It.
Born to Do It. Don't pretend you don't know. You fucking had it. And what went on in them 20 years in between?
I don't know. I think he made a decent amount of money, and then if you've moved to Miami, you're going all Scarface, aren't you? That's what I'd be fucking doing.
Yeah, I think he was throwing parties. He was a DJ, wasn't he? Say
what?
I don't know. He was a DJ, wasn't he? Over there, I don't know. You know, yeah.
I don't know. Let's talk about DJs. David Guetta. That Martin Luther King mashup that everybody wanted.
I'm contradicting myself by saying, like I said about the Madonna thing earlier, that at least you're doing something.
Don't do anything. David,
are we just contradicting our own entire sort of, you know, motto throughout this podcast has been how it's important you do something, and we're going to end it by saying, but if you're David Guetta, don't fucking do what you did.
That's a perfect way to end the podcast.
I mean, it's like, you know, right, playing devil's advocate, he means well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Yeah, he means well, and he's trying to put a message of, you know, positivity out there. He's bringing Martin Luther King's words to an audience that may not have heard them.
Who's not heard Martin Luther King's
come on.
word?
Honestly, there'll be kids out there that haven't. There'll be kids out there who don't.
There's a Martin Luther King Avenue, Martin Luther King Street or whatever, every 4 blocks in America.
I get it, but there will be youngsters or whoever who may not. They'll know who he is. Obviously, it's a Martin Luther King Day in America, but they might not have heard his words. Oh, listen, I'm trying to fucking help David Guetta out here. I don't know why.
Why are you on the commission?
I watched it. I was like, I tell you what, that's exactly what Martin Luther King would have wanted. That one day some fucking friend DJ was stood on a rooftop, putting his fucking words to a house background. Yeah, it was pretty bad, but you know, he's trying.
Apparently, yeah, God loves a trier. We'll leave it on
if
that.
If you've not seen that, right? If you've not seen the David Guetta Martin Luther King video, do yourself a favor and don't fucking watch it. If you want to fucking watch a Martin Luther King speech, go and watch a proper one. Don't watch that utter garbage. But yeah, it was. Again, I'm struggling. I'm just trying to say the thought was there, but it was fucking bad, wasn't it? It was.
Who's around? Who are his people around him? Yeah, it's a great idea. This David on top of a skyscraper with a huge decking system all lit up.
How many drugs have you taken? Right, when you go, I've got a fucking idea. Do you know, Martin Luther King? You know, everyone loves him, right? He's got all them speeches that are absolutely amazing. Let's take a bit of that and stick it on a drum beat, and I'll go on the rooftop and play it out, and we'll stream it. And his mates go, do you know what? Fucking great idea, that kid. Yeah. I'm all on that.
It is. It's like them 4 o'clock in the kitchen, innit? Load of cheng on the table, and you're like, you know what we should do? I've always wanted to do the 3 peaks. We'll do it in the morning. I'll get the van. You've been drinking. I'll be all right, lad. And you take Ben Nevis. That's it, innit? Kitchen talk.
I had a mate once in kitchen talk. He told me he was going to take up tuna fishing the next day. He said, "You know what? You know where to get money? Tuna fishing. We could do that. We could go fishing for them tuna. You make $1." And you know, my reaction was like, I was well on board. He was going to be the captain of the boat, and I was going to be the first mate, and it was like it was going to happen. Like, yeah, mate, tuna fishing. Do you know what I mean? 2 lads from fucking Urmston, yeah, we'll go tuna fishing. We know all about that. Needless to say, never got that.
Yeah, there's a screenplay in that we should work on.
Before we wrap up, my friend, is anything else you want to add?
No, that's enough for me. I would like you to go out there and use your voice. Everybody has one, and they are all important. Unless you're sat in a bunker tweeting in capital letters about watching CSI fucking White House.
Oh dear. Listen, you're right. And you know what? People say, oh, you're only posting on social media, you're only doing it. It all matters. It all counts. Do you know what I mean?
Just look at how many people have been cancelled. You don't think your voice on Twitter matters? Look at the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. It does matter.
You know
and if you're a white
person
feeling, sorry, Jay. If you're a white person that's feeling insecure about saying anything, then put that in your fucking message. Say, I didn't really know what to say, but I need to say something. That's fine. You are not going to be judged for talking out about injustice.
Not at all, mate. That's it. As I said earlier, silence is compliance. Before we end as well, 300 subs. We crossed that threshold. So thank you again. Loads of people have been commenting and sending us tweets and stuff, and we really appreciate it. As we say every time, we started this 12 days ago.
Yeah.
Just me and you watching it keeps us out of trouble, keeps us amused. But people have been subscribing, commenting, and we do appreciate the support we've been getting as well. So keep it coming. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. We're both on Twitter. You know where to find Scotty. You know where to find me. But yeah, we'll be back in a few days' time. We'll do another top 10, shall we?
Yeah, I think so. Should we do best sports films?
Oh, hang on.
We're doing it right.
Top 10. My missus just.
I'm doing it right. I've done it right.
Yeah,
I thought you were looking at me.
Top 10 Fellaini moments.
Right, on that note, Laura, go get your own podcast. We have been Scotty and Motty, and we'll be back very soon, unless Jay has gone tuna fishing. Nice one.